Hello, and thank you for visiting the Moving from an Emergency License to Provisional or Initial License Requirements of the Massachusetts Educator Licensure Series, also referred to as MELS. This presentation is for individuals who hold an emergency teacher license and are preparing to advance to a provisional or initial teacher license. Throughout this presentation, there will be references to finding additional information, such as guides, forms, and other websites. You can find these resources through links located within the overview directly beneath this video. In this presentation, we will discuss the emergency license, overview of testing requirements, requirements for provisional licensure, requirements for initial licensure, waivers, and licensure office applicant support. A brief overview of the emergency license. At this point, you may be in possession of an emergency license or an emergency extension and preparing to meet the requirements for either a provisional or an initial license. Emergency licenses began being issued on June 8, 2020, and per the language in the statute, the Office of Educator Licensure stopped issuing them on December 12, 2021. An emergency license is designed to assist candidates who were impacted by the COVID-19 state of emergency and the inability to satisfy certain aspects of the licensure requirements, such as a passing score on the Massachusetts tests for educator licensure, known as MTEL. In response to feedback from districts, and due to continued challenges as a result of the ongoing impact of the coronavirus, Commissioner Riley has extended the validity period of some emergency licenses through June 30th, 2023. Originally valid until June 30th, 2021, and extended last year to June 30th, 2022. Existing emergency licenses for special education and ESL are valid until June 30th, 2022. All other fields of emergency license are valid until June 30th, 2023. All emergency licenses were automatically extended and will be valid until June 30th, 2023, except for the following licenses: teacher of students with moderate disabilities, teacher of students with severe disabilities, teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, American Sign Language / Total Communication, teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, oral / oral, teacher of the visually impaired, and English as a second language, ESL. Emergency licenses that have been granted in the above 6 license areas are valid through June 30th, 2022, and are not subject to the automatic 1-year extension. However, individuals with an emergency license in these fields are eligible to apply for a no-cost extension of their emergency license, and an extension to June 30th, 2023 will be given to those that demonstrate appropriate subject matter knowledge in the field. Before we begin discussing the requirements for the initial or provisional licenses, we have devoted this section to provide an overview of licensure testing requirements. To begin, here is an overview of the requirements for each license. Generally, To satisfy the requirements for a provisional license, you must hold a bachelor's degree, pass the communication and literacy skills test, and pass the subject matter MTEL. For the initial teacher license, the general requirements may include possession of a bachelor's degree, receive a passing score on the communication and literacy skills test, receive a passing score on the subject matter MTEL, complete a teacher preparation program, and obtain a sheltered English immersion endorsement. Keep in mind, these are general requirements. Please refer to the Licensure Requirements tool for licensure-specific requirements. As a result of the statutory and regulatory requirements, there are two types of MTELs. The first is the Communication and Literacy Skills MTEL, which is required of all licensed Massachusetts educators. This test has two subtests, a reading subtest and a writing subtest. This test currently has 5 approved alternatives, which we will discuss in more detail a bit later. The second type of tests are the subject matter knowledge MTELs, which cover the content knowledge required for each licensure field. Please check the required tests link on the MTEL page of the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education website for information about required tests for each licensure field. A subset of subject matter knowledge MTELs currently have approved alternatives, which will be discussed further later. As of this recording, DESE has approved 5 alternative assessments for the Communication and Literacy Skills CLST MTEL. The approved alternative assessment may have been taken or be taken anytime between when the pilot was approved by the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education on October 20th, 2020, through the end of the pilot on June 30th, 2024. Candidates may combine reading and writing subtests from different assessments to meet the overall requirement. The 5 approved alternative assessments for the CLST MTEL include the Praxis Core, the National Evaluation Series Essential Academic Skills, NES-EAS test, the Missouri General Education Assessment, MOGEA, the Washington Educator Skills Test, West B, and the Core Academic Skills Assessment, CASA. These tests vary in length, number of items, and cost. More information can be found on our website under the section about the regulatory pilot. For subject matter knowledge alternative assessments, there are 2 types of alternatives. The first, the educator preparation subject matter knowledge attestation, is only available for a subset of tests at specific educator preparation programs. These assessments have specific eligibility requirements. At a minimum, candidates must be enrolled in one of the identified approved initial licensure programs and must be in good standing with the program. Current offerings are limited to the organizations and programs listed on our website, www.doe.mls/alt-assess/smk-attestation.html. The second, the MTEL Flex, provides an assessment option for MTEL candidates whose score on select MTEL test fields is very close to the passing score, within 1 standard error of measurement of passing on the most recently operating version of the MTEL since October 20th, 2020. Candidates who meet the eligibility requirements can submit an MTEL Flex assessment rather than retaking the full MTEL test. Candidates who pass MTEL Flex will meet the subject matter test requirement for their license. For more details about the structure of the MTEL Flex and eligibility, please see www.doe.mels.edu/MTEL/alt-assess/MTEL-flex.html. The Educator Preparation Subject Matter Knowledge Attestation. To be eligible to meet this criterion, at a minimum, candidates must be enrolled in one of the identified approved initial licensure programs and must be in good standing with the program. Candidates should work with their sponsoring organizations to determine 1. If they are offering an alternative for their licensure area and associated MTELs, and 2. The eligibility requirements for the alternative assessment. Current offerings are limited to the organizations and programs listed on our website. As was mentioned earlier, the MTEL Flex provides an assessment option for MTEL candidates whose score on select MTEL test fields is very close to the passing score, within one standard error of measurement of passing on the most recently operating version of the MTEL since October 20th, 2020. Fields available are English, English as a second language, Foundations of Reading, General Curriculum Mathematics, General Curriculum Multi-Subject, History, and Spanish. Candidates who meet the eligibility requirements can submit an MTEL Flex assessment rather than retaking the MTEL test. For MTEL Flex, candidates provide an analysis of an MTEL test objective to demonstrate the depth of their subject matter knowledge. Candidates who pass MTEL Flex will meet the subject matter test requirement for their license. For more details about the structure of the MTEL Flex and eligibility, please see www.doe.mels/alt-assess/MTEL-flex.html. Now that we have reviewed the testing requirements and the alternatives that are available, I will now provide an overview of requirements for a provisional license. A provisional teacher license is valid for 5 years of employment in the role of the license in public schools or other settings where possession of the license is required by Massachusetts law. A provisional teacher license is generally for someone who has not yet completed an approved teacher preparation program. Most licenses can be obtained with passing scores on the appropriate MTEL or approved alternative assessment and verification of a bachelor's degree. In the next slide, we will display the licenses that can be issued by passing the required tests and a bachelor's degree. Beyond these basic requirements, earning a provisional license may require completion of seminars or courses and/or a competency review. We will cover the licenses that require a seminar in slide 17 and a competency review in slide 21. Use the licensure requirements tool for information and advice, or go ahead and apply for it in ELAR to get started. The licenses listed in this slide may be earned through possession of a bachelor's degree, achieving a passing score on the communication and literacy skills test, and achieving a passing score on the corresponding subject matter test. Please be advised that both the History 1 to 6 and the General Science 1 to 6 licenses have the option of completing a competency review in lieu of achieving a passing score on a corresponding subject matter test. Information on MTEL registration, preparation, and other test-related information can be found through the MTEL link located at the bottom of this slide. Let's look specifically at the requirements for the early childhood and elementary provisional licenses. Common requirements for both licenses include the possession of a bachelor's degree, a passing score on the communication and literacy skills test, a passing score on the foundations of reading test, and seminars or courses on ways to prepare and maintain students with disabilities for general classrooms. The provisional elementary 1 to 6 license may be earned through satisfying all of the common requirements and achieving a passing score on the general curriculum multi-subject subtest, as well as achieving a passing score on the general curriculum mathematics subtest. Additional information pertaining to subject matter tests, including tests that may be taken in lieu of the tests noted in this slide, can be found through the Subject Matter Test Requirements Options link located at the bottom of this slide. For both the early childhood and elementary licenses, in addition to the tests, applicants are required to document a seminar or course of at least 10 hours of instruction specific to and completely covering the requirement. To document compliance through coursework and/or seminars, applicants should upload official transcripts to document coursework. Seminars are documented through letters or certificates of completion. It is always encouraged that applicants provide a letter which details the hours and the requirement satisfied, since it is often difficult to determine based on course titles or course descriptions. Please refer to the Competency Review Guide on our website. See the link at the bottom of this slide for templates to assist in composing these letters. For special education, some foreign languages, and library licenses, a competency review is required in lieu of a test or in addition to required subject matter tests. The competency review is the process for determining whether the subject matter knowledge requirements for a license have been met in a field for which there is no MTEL subject test. Competencies are also known as the coverage of requirements and can be satisfied through the completion of a professional learning experience or professional learning experiences that provided at least 10 hours of instruction specific to and completely covering a subject matter knowledge requirement. Another way competencies can be satisfied through completion of any one or combination of coursework, seminars, workshops, mentored employment, or peer coaching is the structured guidance and supports path, which we will discuss on slide 23. For all the special needs licenses, the requirements for licensure include possession of a bachelor's degree, a passing score on the communication and literacy skills test, a passing score on the general curriculum multi-subject subtest, a passing score on the general curriculum mathematics subtest, seminars or courses on ways to prepare and maintain students with disabilities for general classrooms, and a competency review. Please note the test requirements differ among the special education licenses. For instance, the Foundations of Reading test is required in addition to the requirements noted above for the teacher of students with moderate disabilities, pre-K to 8 and 5 to 12, the teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, oral/oral, and the teacher of the visually impaired. For the teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing, American Sign Language/total communication, a passing score on the sign language proficiency interview or American Sign Language test is required. On this slide, here you have listed license areas where the competency review is a requirement when there is no subject matter test in place. You will notice there are some foreign languages and the library license. To satisfy a competency review, a licensure candidate must satisfy at least 10 hours of instruction specific to and completely covering each competency through one or a combination of the following options: courses, seminars/workshops, or school-based employment/peer coaching. To document compliance through coursework, appropriate documentation would be an official transcript and official course descriptions. Documentation through seminars/workshops would be letters/certificates of completion and activity descriptions. Documentation through school-based mentored employment/peer coaching would be a letter on official letterhead signed by the superintendent or equivalent, stating the hours of instruction delivered via the mentored employment or peer coaching specific to a requirement and the specific component or components of the requirement that were covered. The name and license number of the person serving as the mentor for the mentored employment or peer coaching must be included. A template is provided in the competency review guide. The Structured Guidance and Supports, or SG&S path, is one path for completing the competency review. SG&S is a performance-based assessment for a teacher licensure candidate. It focuses on three key components: classroom-focused professional support, supervision, which includes intensive supervision and regular ongoing support, and assessment of the candidate's knowledge and skills against a performance rubric aligned to the subject matter knowledge of the license. The SG&S process and assessment takes place over a supervised 150-hour field-based experience, which offers classroom-focused professional support to licensed candidates. For those employed in special education with an emergency license, working with your district to complete SG&S might be your most expeditious path to satisfying the competency review and extending your emergency license to June 30th, 2023. Now let's discuss satisfying requirements for an initial license. An initial teacher license is valid for 5 years of employment in the role of the license in public schools or other settings where possession of the license is required by Massachusetts law. Routes to initial licensure exist for those prepared as a teacher in Massachusetts, as well as for those prepared outside of Massachusetts. Those attempting to obtain a core academic teacher license as their first initial teacher license are required to obtain the Sheltered English Immersion, or SEI, teacher endorsement. In-state candidates must complete a Massachusetts-approved Educator preparation program, an initial licensure program, or the Performance Review Program for Initial Licensure, otherwise known as PURPLE. One common path to earn an initial teacher license is as follows: possession of a bachelor's degree, passing scores on the appropriate MTEL, which includes the communication and literacy skills tests and all applicable subject matter MTELs. Where no test has been established, completion of an approved program will satisfy this requirement. Completion of a Massachusetts approved teacher preparation program for the initial license sought. If the license is a core academic teacher license, possession of the sheltered English immersion teacher endorsement is also required. Another path to an initial teacher license is through the Performance Review Program for Initial Licensure, also known as PURPLE. PURPLE is an alternative licensure route for Massachusetts teachers. The basic requirements to earn a license through this route are possession of the provisional license in the field and at the grade level of the initial license sought, and the successful completion of PURPLE. In addition, earning a core academic teacher license as your first initial teacher license through this route requires possession of the Sheltered English Immersion teacher endorsement. Individuals who completed an approved educator preparation program outside of Massachusetts can submit a copy of an official transcript and the completed out-of-state approved program verification form. Individuals who hold the equivalent of at least a Massachusetts initial license issued by a state with which Massachusetts has signed the NASDAQ interstate agreement should submit a copy of their out-of-state license that is comparable to the initial license. Before we go any further, let us gain an understanding of licenses that are considered to be core versus non-core for the purposes of needing a Sheltered English Immersion or SEI endorsement. The license fields noted on the right of this slide are considered SEI core. Therefore, earning one of these licenses as your first initial teacher license requires possession of the SEI teacher endorsement. Individuals may earn the SEI teacher endorsement through any of the following means: successful completion of a department-approved course of study specific to providing sheltered English instruction. The standalone course provider or approved program provider verifies this option electronically. A passing score on the Sheltered English Immersion Test, or MTEL. Possession of a Massachusetts English as a Second Language or English Language Learners license. This license cannot be a temporary license or a professional license that is invalid. A bachelor's degree in a major approved by the department or other graduate level training approved by the department. This option is known as a transcript review and generally involves the completion of graduate courses completely covering the subject matter knowledge and skill requirements set forth in the regulations. Additional information about all of these options can be found through the SEI link at the bottom of this slide. Please keep in mind as you prepare to advance your license the stages and validity of each license. The provisional license is valid for 5 years of employment and cannot be extended or renewed. The initial license is valid for 5 years of employment and can be extended for an additional 5 years. The professional license is valid for 5 calendar years and is renewed every 5 years. Please click on the link at the bottom of this slide for more information on advancing, extending, and renewing your license. Now let us discuss waivers. If an educator with an ESL or special education emergency license is unable to satisfy the requirements for a provisional or initial license, employers may pursue a hardship waiver in order to employ them without a license in the 2022-2023 school year. It is the district's responsibility to follow the instructions for applying for the waiver in ELAR and submitting the requested evidence that a good faith effort has been made to hire licensed personnel. It is at the district's discretion to submit a waiver request on the educator's behalf. School districts can begin applying for a hardship waiver for the 2022-2023 school year through ELAR as soon as April 1st, 2022. Please note that in order for a school district to request a waiver in ELAR, the educator must have an application on file for a provisional, initial, or professional license. Licensure Office Applicant Support. The Licensure Office is committed to providing optimum support and guidance to all applicants for licensure in the state of Massachusetts. Here are some ways we can help you. If you would like to talk with us by phone about the communication you are receiving in ELAR, our customer service specialists are available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. To reach the first available specialist, call 781-338-6600. You may also visit us in person at our Welcome Center at 75 Pleasant Street in Malden. Our hours of operation are 8:45 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. each business day. Visit the licensure webpage at www.doe.mass.edu/licensure for the most updated information and news pertaining to licensure. Once you have submitted an application, the Licensure Office utilizes the online ELAR system to communicate directly with you in writing about the outcome of your application. In addition, you can upload documentation for review, and test scores are posted directly to your account.